I'm excited to share with you this 5-inch drone that I'm working on here. The drone itself is not all that exciting. It's a lot of spare parts, but what is exciting is this gimbal. So I'm working on building a replacement to the Avata 2 that I flew this summer, which was a lot of fun chasing race cars, but I had a really hard time keeping up with them. It just wasn't quick enough. But I really liked the gimbal idea because as you are flying along, if you have a fixed gimbal, then when you need to speed up, you're pointing at the ground more, and when you slow down, you're pointing at the sky more. And so it's really potentially hard if a race car leaves the corner and you're not caught up to them. You got to really be pointing at the ground to catch up to them, and then if they slow way down, you got to really be pointing at the sky, and you maybe aren't keeping them in frame with a fixed camera. But with this situation, if you need to flare, you can camera down, and if you want to go faster, you can camera up. So pretty darn cool. I may need to get more camera up angle by the time it's all said and done, but this is sort of the beta. It was a lot of fun to fly around. The cool feature that I thought was going to be cool is a auto level situation. So it ties the gimbal angle to the flight controller's angle. I was not able to keep track of what angle I was at because the camera was moving, and so I couldn't tell, am I near the max? And so I could tell that I was losing altitude and would stick back. It was just really hard to know where you were. Maybe if I could see the propellers in the shot, then I'd be able to have a reference. I tried to set up a digital horizon, but it didn't work out to keep track of. So I did have really good success later, and I've since flown a bunch just with manual mode and manual with adjustments. So as I go faster, it adjusts, and then slower, and it adjusts. So let me show you some of the flying that I'm doing and explain a little bit what didn't work out in these shots, and then take you for a test flight on it. Love this shot. It's a great day flying at that spot. So what we're trying to do with this build is have something go quicker. We need to be able to keep up with these cars, and also by having the gimbal allowing me to keep the car in focus or in view when I need to speed up, and then also when I need to slow down. This car here was a really fast car and was a good example of, even though I had some bumps and I had some corners, as best as I could do, I couldn't hardly keep up with them. So here I am, wide open throttle with the Avata 2, and he's walking away. Even when he hits that jump, catches some air, I'm still hardly able to keep up with him. I am slowing down a little bit to not overshoot him because I figured he was going to slow down a bunch, but then not. And now I've adjusted the camera down a bunch to keep him in shot. And so having a fixed camera wouldn't have worked because I wouldn't have necessarily been able to keep him in shot as I was slowing down. And so by having the ability to adjust that camera when I speed up, in the case of wide open throttle, trying to catch up to this guy down the straightaway, and then also slowing down when we get to the jumps would be fantastic, just having that gimbal and keeping them in sight. And so when I slow down, not as much sky. When I speed up, not as much dirt, just keeping them nice and in the center there. So that's what the purpose is of this drone, is to be able to fly faster, be able to keep up with them, fly lower, fly closer, and still keep them in shot even when they slow down. So that's what I'm hoping to accomplish. Let me show you what it looked like when I gave it a test fly the other day here. Starting out in angle mode, kind of like the Avata is doing. You can see down here I've got the throttle, and then in the center of the screen we've got our dot and a representative of the horizon. That horizon is inversely representative of the flight controller's angle. So the higher it goes, it means the more we're pitched forward. And you can see there the throttle. I keep having to really bounce the throttle to keep it up in the air because I can't feel how much stick I'm giving it. You know, I can't feel where the drone's actually at as far as how we're flying. So we're giving it a lot of angle here. You can see by the distance between the dot and the horizon line, and giving it a lot of throttle, more than 70%. We're doing 70 miles an hour, going pretty quick, but it just feels really disconnected. And then I should have overlaid sticks so that you could see the stick inputs as well, but it just was really disconnected. So here the next go, we are still in stabilized mode, but now we're in air mode, and that was even weirder because now I really couldn't tell how much angle we had. The false horizon doesn't go far enough to show what the angle really is, although I was doing a little bit better. As long as I was going very fast, giving it a lot of throttle and trying to do smooth stick movements, I was able to kind of keep things going. But if I needed to make any adjustments, I really was all over the place. You can see here I'm kind of struggling with that throttle to keep it in the air. There was also a delay between the auto leveling with the gimbal and what the flight controller was doing, so it would bounce and then I would try to fly opposite of the bounce, and it just was goofy. But you can see here it wasn't too bad, but you really had to be just a lot of motion, because there you go, I tilted further than what the camera actually could do. That's why we're looking at the ground so much more now. So I remapped the auxiliary to the RSSI so that it would show me the input. So 0 on the RSSI would actually be camera all the way down, 100% would be the camera all the way up. So here we are, air mode, not in stabilized mode. And you can see as I was pitching it harder to go faster, I brought the camera up a little bit more to 67. I really was struggling to find that slider. It's a little bit too far away. I guess my fingers are too short, or it's too far away. Did another pass, and see, I didn't actually pitch up there. I just pitched the camera up so that I was able to see more of the horizon, more of the sky, more equal, instead of just as much ground. And that actually was pretty awesome. But again, I wasn't able to adjust up and down quick enough the way I would like to have. So the secret sauce is going to be that head tracker. I can make big adjustments with the auxiliary slider, but then fine tune it with my head as far as how much up or down I'm giving it. So I'm really excited for this summer and chasing race cars. Thanks for watching this far. If you're interested to see how I've put it together and the parts I've used, then keep watching. And if not, thanks for watching this far. At Medlin Drones, at their store, is where I went ahead and got the head tracker and the tilt gimbal. There are a bunch of different drones that they support, and if they don't have your drone, they will be, for a small fee, willing to draw it up for your drone, which is kind of cool, and get you up and going quickly. So that's what I went ahead and did. Had a little trouble with the ND filters, but because it's just a 3D print, I went ahead and modified it with a hot knife and got it working just fine for my use case. So great tutorials talking about how to physically add it. You're going to need to have a BEC, battery elimination circuit, so that you can power the 5-volt for the gimbal. It's a fairly sizable servo, so even if your flight controller has 5-volt, it would be, I think, beneficial to not risk burning it out and making sure and have a dedicated BEC. And that way, even if the BEC had a problem, your flight controller would not be affected. So how to add it, some first flight setup, and how to configure it. So a couple of things you do need to know is, so here's my flight controller, is which pad you're going to utilize. A lot of the reading is recycling of a LED pad, because the LED strip, because LED strip specifically can be reprogrammed. But this controller luckily had a servo, and so when you do your build, you do need to include servos, and then you need to know what resource your servo is on. So luckily mine was noted, and I was able to make that happen pretty easily. So here we are. You can see in my options when I did the build, I have my servos. You don't need to use the pin IO, I don't believe, and the PWM output. I was overdoing it and added a few other things. Under servos then, so over here on the radio, I'm an auxiliary 5, and you can see there that I've got it adjusting. Now I needed to set up the rate considerably lower so that it was tracking more smoothly. 100% rates was just too far, so I adjusted it down until I got it all the way up to the positive and all the way down to the negative. And then I also adjusted the min max just a little bit to get it all the way to where we want it to be. And then you can see we're adjusting from there. And you can look in the CLI. If you go for resource, you can see here I have my servo, and that it is assigned to B15. And that's what gets us to up and going. Thanks for riding along as a give a tour of the drone and the Medlin gimbal. Pretty excited for the summer. Get down tight with those guys, just chasing right on their dust and getting you guys some awesome shots. So subscribe and check out what this summer holds for us. Thanks again.